What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're getting back to work on the 2002 Acura RSX, and this time around we're focusing on the front lower control arms with brand new bushings. The suspension needs an overhaul, and this will be the first step along the way. So without further ado, let's go ahead get started on installing the new lower control arms on the Acura RSX. Front lower control arm replacement for a 2002 Acura RSX do-it-yourself guide. This right here is the passenger side replacement lower control arm. And there's the part number for your reference. Now keep in mind, this lower control arm comes preloaded with brand new bushings. Now I was thinking about replacing just the bushings on my OEM lower control arms, and I priced them out. Actually, the replacement bushings are more expensive for the rear and front versus the entire unit preloaded with brand new bushings. So I believe this part was $48, and I think brand new bushings itself were just $60. And then I have to go ahead and rent a press, so it's a lot more labor. So I figured going with Moog brand, which is a well-known suspension company, you know, I can't go wrong here. And plus it saves me labor of having to press out the bushings and whatnot. So there's brand new rubber bushings. This is the one that's basically cracked right here. And I don't know the condition of this one right here. This is actually the rear, and this is the front. And this is where the ball joint goes through. So let me show you right here. Here's the bushing. I don't know if you can see too well, but this bushing's starting to separate from the inside, and it's starting to dry rot. I mean, this car is 20 years old, and it's got 264,000 miles on it, so, you know, bushings only last so long, and rubber parts are the first parts to go on top of electronics. So I'm going to show you guys how to replace lower control arms on an Acura RSX. So we'll start with the bolts right here. So this bolt right here on the underside of the front, that's a 19 millimeter. And then we have another bolt right here, right behind the axle. So this bolt right here, that's a 19 millimeter also. And then you're also going to need to remove the sway bar bolt right here. So you're going to see that the threads actually has a recessed area for an Allen wrench. So once you loosen this thing up, you're going to have to hold this with an Allen wrench and get a ratcheting wrench and remove this. I believe this is a 14 millimeter. And then this bolt right here is your lower ball joint. So you need to go ahead, remove this cotter pin, and remove this nut. This nut, I believe, is a 17 millimeter. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over the tools necessary for replacement of lower control arms for an Acura RSX and many other Honda models. Okay, and the tools you're going to need to replace lower control arms on an Acura RSX and many other Honda and Acura models: 1/2-inch impact wrench if you have one, 1/2-inch impact rated extension, 1/2-inch impact wobble extension, 19 millimeter, 17 millimeter, 14 millimeter, all in impact, very important. And an Allen wrench, I believe the one we're going to use is a 5 millimeter, 1/2-inch breaker bar, 1/2-inch ratchet, hammer, pry bar, pliers, 14 millimeter ratcheting wrench, torque wrench. Okay, now we talked about the tools required, let's go ahead and start taking apart the lower control arm on the Acura RSX. Okay, this is going to be real quick. 19 millimeter on the front lower control arm bolt, also 19 millimeter on the rear lower control arm bolt, and a 14 millimeter nut on the sway bar, along with a 5 millimeter Allen head inserted into the rod. Remove the cotter pin with pliers, and the nut is a 17 millimeter. Let's go ahead, remove all those bolts, and then we'll be able to pull off the lower control arm. Okay, we got every single nut and bolt removed that's holding in place lower control arm. So we got the front 19mm removed. We got the 17mm nut on the ball joint, and also had to use a Pitman arm puller in order to pop that ball joint out. And then the rear 19mm bolt on the back side of the control arm. And over here in the sway bar link, this is a 14mm nut. You have to hold this in place with, I believe, a 5mm Allen wrench while you spin this thing. So lower control arm is officially disconnected from the car. Now I gotta actually pull this thing out. So this is gonna take some magic in order to pull this thing out. Tolerances are close. I might have to use my pry bar to finesse this thing, so let's go ahead and find out how tough this is to remove. Alrighty, passenger side lower control arm is officially removed from the Acura RSX. And this obviously is our brand new one. So let me go and give you a strategy of how to install your new lower control arm. So right here, this is the front bushing right there. And there's a 19mm that goes on the underside straight up. Okay, so what I recommend doing when you install your new lower control arm on your Honda Acura, specifically my Acura RSX, is you want to go ahead and line up this front bushing into the hole and go ahead and put that 19mm bolt hand tighten in position. Do not use an impact wrench because you could cross thread things and you don't want to re-tap threads, pain in the butt. But once you have that thing tightened up, hand tighten, you want to go ahead and swing the lower control arm and get that rear bushing in position. Now it might take some finagling with the pry bar, so you just got to be careful with this. Alrighty guys, lower control arm officially installed on the passenger side of the Acura RSX. Now I went ahead and did some double checking on the torque specs, and the front bolt and the rear bolt is actually 72 foot-pounds. So torque this bolt and that back bolt right there to 72 foot-pounds. And then for the ball joint nut right there, that's going to be 43 to 51 foot-pounds. But you need to make sure that the castle will allow that cotter pin to go back in. And the sway bar link nut right here, this is 29 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead, torque all these bolts and nuts to spec, and then we'll go ahead, put the wheel and tire back in position, and we should be done with this job. Alrighty guys, got the Moog branded front lower control arms installed and everything seemed to go in pretty well. Now I did take it for a drive and it's precisely smooth compared to the OEM ones with the worn out bushings. However, it's pulling slightly to the right side, so it's going to go in for a front end alignment here shortly so my tires don't get worn down pretty quick. Anyhow, hope y'all can stay tuned as we bring back this Acura RSX to its former glory and keep up with the maintenance for years to come. And if you found this video helpful or entertaining, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.